time to talk about luxury cruising. From suites so sweet to ships elite. Come explore the world in style with me on Luxury Cruising, the podcast.
Hey, it's Crystal here. Before we get started, did you know that there is a way for you to directly support the podcast? Head over to my website, luxurycruising.net, and you can buy me a latte, a glass of champagne, or even a whole bottle of champagne if you want. Leave me a note, and I'll be sure to give you a shout out on the next episode. That's luxurycruising.net. You can also leave me a note or ask a question. Okay, let's get on with the show.
Welcome back to Luxury Cruising. I'm your host, Crystal Sodaitis. I'm so excited to have Michele Wirth back on the podcast. This is Michelle's third visit with us here on the podcast, and her first episode continues to be one of the most popular podcast episodes of all the ones that we have released. So that is going to be episode 2, talking about the celebrity retreat, and we will definitely link that in the show notes, so you should check that out, as well as the other episode she was on, which was talking about her Viking Danube river cruise. So Michele, welcome back. Always great to have you.
So nice to be here again. Thank you.
And today we are going to be talking about world cruises. Now, people who have listened to the podcast know that this is one of my dream, if not like the pinnacle dream cruise for me. Like, I really hope to one day take a world cruise. And Michele is the perfect person to come on to the podcast and to help me really explain to all of you, like, why is a world cruise so amazing? What makes it a bucket list cruise? So let's just start with a simple definition. Michele, how would you describe a world cruise?
I would describe a world cruise as a cruise that takes you around the world. It's a cruise that is often over 100 days. It's often going to visit more than one continent. Most often, you're going quite a distance. However, none of the world cruises hit, everywhere, obviously. But they're taking you around the world.
Yeah, and I've seen world cruises where it might be really extensive. Like, many of them leave from North America, like Fort Lauderdale or Miami, and then hit the Caribbean. Some will go around South America. Some will do a Panama Canal transition and then spend extensive times in Asia, and somehow make their way back and don't even touch Europe, whereas other ones will completely circumnavigate the globe, but not hit every single country in every single port.
Exactly. I was planning a world cruise for a client of mine. We were attempting to, but for the dates he wanted and the itinerary that he wanted, it just wasn't hitting everything. And that's what happens. A world cruise is not once and done if you're somebody who really aspires to see the whole world on a cruise.
Yeah, I've noticed that too, is that sometimes there's a world cruise that's really focused on, like, I saw one, I don't remember what line it was, but they built it as a world cruise, and you left North America and then you went over to Australia and you went completely around Australia, and then you made your way back, which I thought was really great because that's very uncommon for you to completely be able to see not just the highlights like Sydney and Brisbane, but also to be able to go up into the Kimberley region, which is more like expedition cruising. And so to see that on a world cruise was really rare.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? Now that more of the cruise lines are getting into the world cruise game, they're having to get a little bit creative and change things up. And of course, they also know that the clients are the ones that are really aspiring to see the world on a cruise. It's not going to be one and done. So they're going to change it up a little bit and give different itineraries, different ports to also hopefully get those clients to sail again with them, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'd love to do more than one.
Oh my goodness, I know, me too.
So let's just take a step back because I always wonder when it comes to a world cruise, you said like over 100 days, when it comes to like the planning and logistics, from a travel advisor standpoint, what are some things that people really need to know and understand?
Well, the first thing to know and understand is if you really, really want to take that world cruise, you have to plan it early as possible. I was looking at world cruises the other day for 2027, and a lot of categories are sold out. Um, in fact, Viking has put out their 2028 itineraries because most of
Wow.
their 2027 is already sold out. It's crazy,
Completely sold out.
just about. Yeah, I mean, I think there were two cabins on the one I looked at.
Wow.
Yeah.
I always wonder too about like, what do you tell people to do with their pets? Like, how do you manage if you have medications? How do people manage those things?
So, pets, I'll be honest, a lot of people will not venture to world cruises while they still have pets at home because it is an issue. Others will, the pets will stay with grandma or, the adult kids for a while. But as far as medications go, um, most of the time, clients will get with their doctors and with their pharmacies, and they have special vacation extensions, things like that, where you can get the extra medication you need for the time you need it. So, usually, because the cruises are only going, maybe 120 days, 140 days, it's not that much. It's not like you need a whole year's supply of medication, right? So typically people can get a 3 month supply. So it's only adding a little bit. And you could usually arrange that with your doctors and pharmacy.
Yeah, good to know. Good to know. Yeah. I guess most mail-ins will give you like a 90-day, but if you need more than 90 days, then I guess you have to just talk with your doctor, talk with your pharmacy, maybe talk with your insurance company, which is probably a good thing to do anyway, so that they know that you're going to be traveling and may need emergency care. Obviously, good travel insurance is key, but then also knowing what your own insurance plan will cover for you while you're away. Yeah, let me just make one more plug for
Absolutely.
travel insurance. Like I'm a huge travel insurance fan. But definitely if you're going to be gone for over 100 days, like you just need to buy the travel insurance. Too much can happen.
Absolutely. I mean, every cruise you plan at some point will become non refundable. And you're not talking about a tiny investment when you're talking about a world cruise. So, at the very least, for that part of it, but of course, you want to also be covered. You're going across the world and going to be in a lot of different places. You want to know that, you can be taken care of and get home if need be, if a medical crisis came up or whatever. So, yeah, the travel insurance is absolutely of the utmost importance.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So you kind of touched on that Viking has already opened their 2028. We're recording this in August of 2025, and Viking has already opened their 28 World
It's
Cruise.
actually on their website.
Wow. Wow. So what's your recommendation? So generally, how far in advance do World Cruises open up?
A lot of times they're opening up about 18 months ahead. I think that's adjusted a little bit. It typically was about 18 months ahead is when they've been opening up. But obviously, with Viking already having their 2018 out there, I wonder if it's going to, spur the others on to get their itineraries out there also. I don't know. But pretty much the typical is about 18 months ahead. And as far as getting on top of it, honestly, I recommend you get on top of it immediately, as soon as possible. Some cruise lines have wait lists. So if you've ever noticed, a cruise line opens up and then all of a sudden, a week later, it's three-quarters sold. It's because a lot of those people were already on a wait list.
Got it.
So If you're looking at one this year and it's not working out for you, get on the wait list.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. Yeah.
Let me just say, there's also a period of time when your deposit is still going to be fully refundable. So it does make sense for the most part to do the wait list. And a lot of times the deposits are not too extensive, although in some cases they can be.
Yeah. So that's really interesting about the wait list because I always see when they come into my email or into my feed, there are all of these seems like there's always early sign up perks like free business class travel and onboard credit. Is that for early sign up or is that really when they're trying to entice people to fill the ship after they haven't filled with their wait list?
No, that's pretty much early sign up. Now, if there is a world cruise that hasn't had the capacity filled up to what they want, then I could certainly see them offering things. But no, typically that is for early sign up. Even the Viking ship that had only 2 cabins left was still offering the promo. By the way, that promo is not going to be available by the time this podcast is done because it actually ends today. But yes, it was a huge promo offering free business class air, offering just a ton of stuff. Yeah.
Usually it's like onboard credit or credit towards like a couple different, many of them offer excursions. Let's get into a little bit around the cost. Let's start with how much do these generally run? Like depending on the cruise line, obviously, but what kind of cost are we talking about?
I did a comparison the other day because I really just wanted to see what the range was. And so I tried to choose 3 similar itineraries, leaving around the same time. You can get a world cruise on a mass market line that is a quarter of the price of a world cruise on the ultra luxury line. Okay, same sailing time. It's not the same itinerary. They all have different itineraries, but it was about the same amount of days. And you were talking $50,000, versus $200,000 for the couple. Okay.
Like that's for 2 people, not per person.
That was for 2 people. On the one I looked at, it was for a cabin. It was for 2 people in a veranda cabin. But when you look at those differences, the price difference on that, the luxury line at 200,000 was a lot more inclusive than the mass market line. And as far as the things they were throwing into that for early booking, I was not impressed at all what the mass market was offering. And when I looked at it, I mean, it would take a little bit more research for me to actually get down to apples to apples, trying to compare them. And even you couldn't because the ships are going to be totally different. The atmosphere is going to be totally different. But if you just try to compare all the inclusions and what it would cost to add them up, I have a feeling that once you do that, it's going to be a lot less of a difference in price.
Yeah, because you're talking about like drink package, Wi-Fi, excursions. I mean, I've seen like a world cruise that offers like, I don't know, 20, 40 included excursions on the world cruise, lots of onboard credit, obviously those business class flights.
Yeah. And it does make a huge, huge difference. So I did want to say too, I was looking at 3 different cruise lines that have really nice itineraries going out for 2027. And one was Viking, one was Seabourn, and one was Princess. Obviously, Princess is a mass market. Seabourn is ultra luxury. And Viking is, not, I mean, it's luxury. It's definitely not mass market, but not ultra luxury.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Viking and Seabourn are going to have, the smaller ships, more inclusions, and all of that. What you really want to look out for, though, are those earliest promotions. And I just want to read you, just to give an example for your
Yeah.
listeners. And we'll go with Viking. Viking has a 2028 now, so you can
Yeah.
get in on an early, right? But this is a promotion. It's a special promotion, limited time. It was running for the summer. It is ending today, August 31st.
But
And
something to look out for.
oh,
Because
yeah.
this is this promotion, but they might run the promotion again. So yeah, we definitely want to hear. What are they offering?
Well, yes, because they're also offering this right now on the 2027 and the 2028, right? So as I said, they're almost sold out. There's only a few left, but it's still early. So I do have a feeling you will see either the same promotion or similar promotion still for the 2028, okay?
Yeah.
But according to their website, though, this promotion will end today. So there will be another promotion tomorrow, probably, and it'll just be a little bit different. But for now, this one's offering free business class airfare and transfers, a $4,000 per couple shore excursion credit, which would be very helpful. The extra bonus was a $2,000 per couple shipboard credit. So now you have the shore excursion credit for $4,000, $2,000 shipboard credit. And then if you're a past guest on Viking, you'll get an additional $2,000 per couple shipboard credit. So now you have $8,000 in credits towards this cruise, which is awesome. Also, they're offering a reduced deposit of 10%, and that was very limited time for that. And then they are on this one also, it was complimentary visa service, which, by the way, as a travel agency, we help our clients with all that stuff. Not all of the cruise lines will help you with it. And this is just a temporary thing, but complimentary visa service. They were offering silver spirits beverage package, the Wi-Fi. So a lot more inclusions right at the beginning. Some of that was being offered a limited availability for a particular category on the ship. So, for example, the one stateroom that they still had available on this ship happened to be a great stateroom. It was right in the middle. It was a penthouse veranda.
Yeah.
But this special is specifically for that. So
Yeah. And I can imagine also that things like the Wi-Fi, maybe a drink package, maybe even like laundry service are more likely to be included when you're looking at a luxury line or an ultra luxury line world cruise than a premium or mass market world cruise.
right. And I mean, if you're someone who has status already on a line, as you do, if you were to do a Royal Caribbean world cruise, you would have extra benefits for your status, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
I find it interesting when people decide to take these very, very long cruises, but they switch cruise lines from what they're used to and they know and love, because that could be a real, that could be a real humdinger. I don't suggest people do that.
Yeah.
Without checking it out first.
So do you suggest that before people, let's say, take a Viking world cruise, they try a 1 week cruise on Viking Ocean, obviously not river, to see if they even like Viking as a cruise line?
Yes, definitely. If they have not sailed the cruise line, I would absolutely do that. It has absolute rave reviews for the clients that love it, but it's not for everybody. So yes, you must try it. And honestly, if it were me, if it was a client of mine that I know has only ever been on 7-day cruises or has only ever been on port intensive cruises, I would also encourage them to do maybe a little bit of a longer segment with more sea days and see how that goes. Because it's different, and Look, I know you and you could put us on any cruise for any length of time and we're going to love it, but that's not the case for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people could get a little, cabin fever for being at sea, having, 4 or 5 sea days.
Right.
Um, yeah, you need to know if that's something that you're going to like. Or the opposite, like I have never been on a very port intensive sailing. And I know when I was just looking, not that I was thinking of going, but when I looked at the Royal Caribbean, when they had their Ultimate World Cruise a few years ago, I looked at that itinerary, and in the summer months, they were in Europe, and it was probably close to 2 months without a sea day. And I
Mhm.
looked at that and I said,
Mhm.
no, there is no possible way. Either that or you have to decide, like, I'm just not going to go. I'm just not seeing this port. Because that would be for me if I chose a world cruise that was very intensive, like had a lot of port days back to back without a sea day in between. I would definitely have to consider that.
Let me tell you, I was looking at Seabourn's World Cruise. I was looking at three of them the other day, and I think it was Seabourn's, but I was looking at one of them. It had the most fabulous Viking also. They have a lot of overnight stays, they have a lot
Yes.
of longer stays. It makes a huge difference, a
Yes.
huge, huge difference. And remember that client I told you I was trying to plan the world cruise for and it didn't
Yep.
quite work out? The reason it didn't work out is because it was, well, there's two reasons. One is because that particular cruise didn't even touch Europe and he wanted to do more of Europe, but also because it was very port intensive. And so you either had a lot of port days right in a row or a lot of sea days right in a row.
Yeah.
And he decided that he could do this trip more customized if he didn't do it on the cruise. And so we did put together a world trip for him. Unfortunately, he couldn't get it all on the cruise. But in there, he's put a couple of cruises in there
Yeah.
to
That's it.
see certain areas. So a different way to
Yeah.
handle it, I guess.
Different way to do it, to include some cruising.
Yeah. And for him, the reason was he wanted more time in each place. He likes cultural immersion and he also does not like to be, boom, 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 boom. He
Yeah.
likes to really absorb himself. And so he has a minimum of, I think, 3 or 4 days in each location he's going to. And it's fabulous. He's still seeing as many countries or more than he would have had he gone on the world cruise. But again, in order to do it, he had to incorporate some cruises in there
Right.
to
Yeah.
make it all work, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So what lines, we've talked about Royal. Royal doesn't routinely offer
No,
a Ultimate World Cruise. That was a
no.
one-time thing that I don't know that they'll ever do again. You mentioned a couple like Princess, Viking, Seabourn. Who are the big players in world cruising? Like, if people are thinking about one, what are maybe the top three that they should consider?
Okay. Well, I would say if you cruise with a cruise line regularly that is doing a world cruise, then you should consider that because you already love it. So that makes sense. However, as far as big players go, Holland America has been doing world cruises for a very long time. So they're a big one. Um, Viking has become pretty well known for their world cruises. Um, Oceana has gotten into the world cruise game.
Mhm.
So, and keep in mind that I think it's a matter of what cruise ship out there, what cruise line out there is your best fit. Consider that one first. And that's where we come into play a lot of times. You're going to be on that thing for a long time. You do not want to be a week in or 10 days in and reconsidering, oh my goodness, what did I do? Right? You want to make sure you are on a cruise ship that is going to feel like home to you for three
Mhm.
months, 4 months,
Yeah.
right? Viking has really gotten an excellent reputation in this field. So I would definitely consider if you're a good fit for it.
Yeah, after trying
Viking is
Viking Ocean
more,
cruise.
yeah, yeah. So, if you're a Royal Caribbean person, or, I'll use Royal Caribbean because it's a big, stark difference, right? Royal Caribbean is a fun cruise. There's a lot to do on it. There's a lot of entertainment and things to keep you,
Like
you
busy
know,
during the day.
fun,
Even
right?
probably the smaller ships have rock climbing walls and a pub that's open all night with, a guitar singer or whatever.
Exactly. Whereas on a Viking ship, you would be more inclined to have guest lecturists, or, intensive port talks, maybe celebrity guests that have stories. That's more of what you're going to get on a Viking cruise versus a Royal Caribbean cruise. It's a huge difference, and you have to be able to embrace that, or you're going to be bored to tears. Same thing with the ideal client for a Viking cruise. Could definitely go on a Royal Caribbean cruise and have a wonderful time if that's what they're wanting, especially they're doing it with other family members or whatever. But if their vibe is a Viking cruise, the Royal Caribbean is not going to satisfy that, right? So you have to be on the cruise that's most going to feel like home to you for
Yeah,
120 days.
100 plus days.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And also the other types of cruisers, right? Because now we know, and we were talking a little bit about this earlier, that sometimes the world cruises, they break them up into segments. So, I mean, the Ultimate World Cruise, that had like, I don't know, 15 or 20 segments where people were like hopping on and hopping off all the time. But also, the type of cruiser, the type of person who chooses Holland America World Cruise or Princess World Cruise might be very different from the person who chooses a Silver Sea World Cruise or an Oceania World Cruise.
Yeah,
And
for
and neither is bad, but just knowing
sure.
where do you fit most, because you are going to be with these people for a few months.
Yeah, absolutely. And that just brings the other point. Okay. So on a silver, or let's say Seabourn, because I'm more familiar right now with that. So on Seabourn, you're going to have a maximum of like 450, I think is the large ship. You're going to have a maximum of 450 people on that ship, right? Whereas on, let's say, a Princess or a Holland America, you're going to have a few thousand. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the difference right there on, think about this difference on any cruise you go on with them. So even if it's just a 7-day cruise, when you are on that smaller ship, you are recognized and addressed by all of the staff. They really know you, your preferences, your desires. You get to know people. There's a big sociability factor, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're on a larger ship, especially one that's stopping and letting people off and on at almost every port, that's not happening nearly as well. They may have a special dinner or get together for the people doing the world cruise, but once you're departed from that, you're among a sea of thousands of people. So it's a very different experience. Also, those larger cruise ships that are holding all those people, they're not getting into the little ports.
Yes.
They're in the big ports, the big industrial ports. So to get from there to where you want to go, you're having to travel there every time. Whereas when you're on that smaller ship, you are getting right into those smaller ports. You're seeing more unique ports. They avoid a lot of times the huge influx of crowds from multiple different ships. Not every time, but a lot of times. So the entire experience is completely different.
Yeah, and that's a really good point too. A lot of times these ports are a distance from the actual city of interest, right? And so if you're on a heavy, especially in Europe, if you're on a port intensive itinerary with 3,000 people or 2,000 people, and half of you are getting onto a bus every other day to take 2 hours. I mean, like that can get really tiring, as opposed to, I'm sure the smaller cruise ships have smaller ways of transportation, maybe a little bit more personalized. You can get maybe into a port that's closer so that you don't have as far to travel to see points of interest. So those are also really good points.
And they're going to stay longer. Some of them are going to stay overnight. I mean, yeah.
And I can't emphasize how much that overnight stay really makes a difference, because you don't feel compelled to see everything in one day. It's much more relaxing. You can do everything in one day and then just stay on the ship. You can come and go. I did an overnight years ago in Havana, and it was really nice to just know, like, I'm not in a rush. I can come and go. I don't have to worry about getting back to the ship on time, at least the first night. And so, yeah, those overnight stays, especially if you're looking for more of a immersive cultural experience, really do make a difference.
Mm-hmm. I think it makes a difference between feeling like you've truly experienced a place. It almost feels as if you flew there and stayed there at a hotel to have the overnight experience. It is different. Have you ever seen the Trevi Fountain in person at night?
Oh, not at night. Mm-mm.
Do you know what I did for the first time in 2021? I had been there so many times before,
Yeah.
but it was always during the day. And I got to experience it at night, and it was a completely different experience. And I was awestruck, and I totally didn't expect it. It was not on
Yeah.
my radar at all to have it affect me at all. I'd been there so many times. I loved it. And it made me realize that having that overnight experience is what really made me feel like, yes, now I've really experienced it.
Yeah. And you can go to cultural shows. Like even in Hawaii, I remember we did the luau at the Polynesian Cultural Center in Honolulu. If you're just stopping there for the
Mm-hmm.
day, like you're never going to be able to see that.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. I wonder too, either through your clients or, as you research and learn about world cruises, has the profile changed with more people being able to work from a ship, the digital nomads? Are they looking for
Yeah.
world cruises at all?
Yeah. Believe it or not, they are. It's amazing. I mean, a lot of the young people now are just embracing the idea of being able to travel now while they're young and work along the way. I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, they are looking at world cruises. And in fact, the client that I mentioned that I ended up planning mostly land, but then sticking some cruises in there is 27.
Wow.
And his inspiration was I had invited a few clients to have lunch with me. They were in town, actually had disembarked a cruise and were getting ready to get on another cruise, but they were here in Tampa. And so we sat and had brunch, and the one client heard all the stories because they had just come off of a world cruise, and they were just talking about how much they loved it. And oh my gosh. And in fact, I believe it was the Royal Caribbean one.
That's what world cruise.
Yeah, because I didn't plan this. The client went with another person. So anyway, but they had just gotten off of a world cruise and they were talking about it. And the one guy is 27. He's the other client's age. And he was like, oh my gosh, I could do that. They could do that. I could do that. I want to do that. Right. So I think that's a lot of that. People are seeing other people traveling young and doing all this, and they want to do it. Why not?
Yeah. Why not? Absolutely. Why not? Yeah. So,
and then you have people like me and my husband who feel like we're never going to retire because we love what we do, but we still want to travel a lot. We want to do that. So, yeah.
And you both could pretty much do it from a world cruise. You'd get it done.
Yeah. Yeah. Why not?
So is that on your list? Are you thinking about a world cruise?
Oh, yes. I was trying to plot the timing already. I mean, in my mind, I've got the timing nailed down. I've got it figured out, but I've got to get the husband on board. You know, he's
Yeah.
got to get the idea that he can do that and still work and be okay. But yeah, maybe
Yeah.
a few years for him to get with that program.
It'll definitely happen. Well, Michele, it's been so fun as always talking cruising and especially world cruising with you. If any of the listeners want to book a world cruise or around the world trip or really any travel with you, please remind them how they can find you.
You can find us on our website at travelsimplyinspired.com/luxury cruising, or you can email me at michelle@travelsimplyinspired.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you all again for listening. And until next time, I wish you safe and luxurious cruising.
Hey, before you go, if you're enjoying this content, I would so appreciate a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this podcast. If you'd like to be on the show, there's a link to a form in the show notes, or you can email me at luxurycruisingpodcast@gmail.com. That's luxurycruisingpodcast@gmail.com. I hope to hear from you soon.